我靠，月姐，我找不到你了，月姐。啊，找到了。
哎，我操，不点去了。
你看看哪个能用，哪个不能用，我不知道。发给你了。喂，发给你了，一龙。
这个人，你打这个人。
我再发你一份。
没炸到他。
你等嘛，肯定有能用嘞。哎，昨天还有一个。这边，哎呦，哎呦，啊，你咋做？好。我会想你，等会儿，这么快？
我在家边。
行，那我等你回来。我操！
啊，这是别人发的呀。
听《狼的诱惑》，你听过？你没听过啊？你居然没听过？那你年纪很小了。啥？他都比你大2岁。啊？
最近你应该给他说，看不出来，你好像比我大20。
你看着像多大嘞？你说22.5，24.25，行吧？他说刚个像24.25的，没事没事。胡子看着，胡子能看着呀？胡子肯定会长啊，他不剃都会长啊。啊，那个，人家有人从小都开始刮，所以会深一点。
你从小开始刮的？
哎呀，凭你自己心理感觉，你觉得嘞？24。哼，哈哈。你猜真准，我给你猜真准呐。哎，比你大都管了，还问你多大？
我多大？18了。
啊？啊，比我大。谁呀？我不知道啊，你别问我呀。啊？我知道比我大，我说的比我大，我知道他多大。
你那刚哥大没？
没有。除了刚哥比俺这几个都大。
刚哥今年56呢。像李丽颖是吧？李丽颖用了一个秘方，
他们人品吗？
班有2个比我还强。
哎，我他妈打死我！关键他们这几个他妈没对上人。
呀，跟那个吗？
他妈的！
现在没给你找那个麻的。
现在报上了。
这还得硬朗啊，你知道吗？
排除软件儿人。我操！他要睡觉。他要睡觉。哎呀。
下课。
我死了呢。
说上的时候。
对，他们。还有回去，还有回去。我也是，这个天吧。受不了，我操！专门买盘奶灌嘴里。
这郑哥是太大了，是吧？
没办法呀嘛，当年这混的人嘛。
还有半句。
在哪？
本来是按道打的，现在不知道。一道墙在那里头。
我去呀！
哎，蛮里面。去有点快。A大的，确定了，到了。到缆车附近了快。
过结婚了吗？
还没呢。
不要感人。你有？
我操！这不是真惨呀！
我操！
我操！大堂子你啥时候呀？
上高中时候啊。
不说你上高啊？悄悄的真高啊！
对，悄悄的真高。
那是不知道谈女朋友吗？
不高。
到平台了。
哦，不是从这朋友哪里呀？
生日也能被人打掉。
我操！我操！我操！我操！
哎呀，你是吃我那个火锅小红豆了？变全国人了。
漂亮。
我操！
可以啊。
可以吗？今天飞机丢了，我今天飞机那个不行，特别丢了。为啥那真那么难吗？这么难吗？
不是，我不是给快点儿试，但是我想试试。他手机就是它自动自然根儿。
咋呢？气死他了。不是还有那么难吗？我操！没事儿，你请。
呀，大姐。比赛比赛，二强。怎么办？这摘不到星星啊！我 S，我要摘星星呀！我自从打了，我自己打上，自从打上了 S 之后，我 rating 全红，不给干。欢迎 DLO。我操，好卡！中远一个油桶的，闭门右手，笔筒。对，这个叫什么？笔门口右手。这个地方爆点很那个。没见，哎呦，上墙了。怎样？
上 S 不知道自个姓什么。
小两个一大一个。
再来一下。给风了，给风给风，去北疆了。
我刮到了。就伪 game 上不会是不会契约吧？
How are you today? Where do you get a book on reserve from? Right over there. Money, come up here, Christine.
See my tax plan. All for libraries. We're gonna have the biggest library. when I'm president. Big libraries. Great. Maybe I should take more questions. So are you ready?
I'm all set.
Okay.
Fire away.
Molly, could you tell me what you do here at Northeast?
I'm the Young Adult Services Librarian. I visit schools. I'm supposed to do some book talks and programs. Still working up to that at this point.
Great. And what is your favorite part of the job? You've had it for not a very long time, but
I really like the reference questions. People come in with anything, and you have to find an answer. You at least do your best shot at getting them something.
do kids come in especially with interesting questions for homework and whatever?
Yeah, some good homework questions from time to time. Of course, it's summertime now, so I can't remember a single one that they had. But yeah, kids have good ones, and the little kids really have good ones. They'll be, why is the sky blue? That sort of thing. Sometimes you have to find them an answer.
Great. Why do you like working at this particular branch?
It's busy. It is the busiest branch besides downtown, so it's always hopping. There's always something to do here.
Do you get a lot of kids that come in even during the summer months?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, with the summer reading club too, we have a ton of kids that come in all the time. And, they want their stickers and their stamps and their prizes, and they just want to read more books, and they want recommendations for more books. So it's very busy during the summer.
Great. When kids come in, do they mostly look for books, or are they going to the computers, or is it kind of a split?
Mostly a book thing, yeah. For kids, yeah, I'd say more adults go for the computers at this point. I do see some kids who are like in the teenage years going for the computers, but not that many, all told. Really, it's mostly the adults at the computers and the little kids for the books.
Okay, great. What kind of people would you say use this branch? What would typify a Northeast branch user?
Hard to say. People who live in the neighborhood, I guess, which is just about everybody. This is the busiest branch outside of downtown, so anybody and everybody who lives right around here comes in. A lot of people just walk right in. See people come in their jogging suits. They're all sweaty and trying to find that bestseller, so just jog right in.
Great. Are there any special people or clients that you could tell me about, or patrons that you've enjoyed helping over your time here? That's fine. You'll think of one tomorrow morning.
Some tourists. Yeah, I had some tourists that were looking for Chief South's grave back in May or something, and they're that's over in Suquamish. So, but I gave them a map. Pointed out it's right over here. It looks like this, and it's about this big. And it's at the top of the hill, that sort of thing. So that was fun.
Great. Are there any programs or projects that you're excited about here at the Northeast branch? What part of your job?
Well, I haven't done any programs here myself. I've been mainly just aiming to get the young adult fiction collection up to speed and really, make it something that young adults are going to come in and say, oh yeah, there's, a lot of good stories there and stuff. So.
I guess there's a lot of trends now. I've been reading in young adult fiction, kind of different kinds of books than we read when we were, that age. What kind of books do the kids seem interested in from your experience?
There's always a group who really go for the science fiction, fantasy angle. That's all they'll read. And I have to admit, I was one of those kids when I was that age. Then there's the others who just want realistic fiction. They don't want anything that doesn't sound real at all. They just want straight stories. And there's some kids who really like the historical fiction, whether it took place in the Civil War or World War II or 15 years ago. That's historical enough for them. So.
Anybody reading Charles Dickens anymore?
When their teachers tell them to. Sometimes, if a kid is an older kid, older teenager, and they're looking for something a little that's going to stretch them a little bit, it's a little out there, I'll bring them over to the classics collection. I'll pull out a few that really appeal to that age. Charles Dickens' Great Expectations is a good one. Huckleberry Finn is a great one. Catcher in the Rye. Stuff that's got to make them think a little bit more than just the straight run-of-the-mill stuff that's published mostly today.
Okay, great. Why do you think the library is an important part of this community?
Well, the books. So many people come in here just looking for a book, and some people have specific requests. They want the latest bestseller and such, and we provide them with that or a reserve on that. Other people come in, they'll have obscure questions. We just cover the gamut. Everybody wants to know something, and we seem to be a focal point for them. That's really nice.
Great. Okay. Good, Wally. That's all I needed.
Great.
Wonderful.
You're terrific. You're very relaxed on camera.
I've been on camera once before, back when I was working in Quick Information.
Basically all my life, with a hiatus when I moved back east. But I came here as a child, and now I bring my children here.
Oh, that's great.
So
Okay. So we'll start with the camera rolling.
I'm ready.
Eleanor, how long have you been coming to the Northeast Branch?
let's see, 5 years, and then I came from when I was 3 till I moved away from home. So long time.
Great. What do you like best about this branch?
Well, Gail's a real asset. She's enthusiastic, and she seems to know the children, and she reads everything, adult books, children's books, and she's always good to make good suggestions, and she's a real asset. Then it's just, I actually like the size of it. It's small enough that you know where your kids are, and you know the people, and there's a lot of good books here.
Great. How often do you usually come here?
At least once a week. I bring the boys up, and my husband tends to bring the boys up because we both like to come here. So the boys make it up here at least twice a week. It's so close.
Okay, great. What's the best feature you think about the children's area?
The best feature? Maybe that'd be Gail again. It's a great selection of books for the kids. There's always new books and old favorites. A nice mixture.
Great. Why do you think that the library is important to this neighborhood?
Oh boy. I just can't imagine the neighborhood without a library. I just can't imagine it.
Okay.
Sort of like having a grocery store, a gas station. It's part of life.
Okay.
So.
Great. That's all we needed.
Oh, what about Simon?
Simon, what do you think?
He says,
Simon.
I can't read yet.
Just in time.
Were you photogenic?
He was.
Were you with your mohawk?
Yeah.
I'll go over there and see if they want me in the movies. Beat them up as quick as you can. Put them on. I recommended you, sir. Here's the next English teacher. Avid reader. Yeah. You want the next one? Where is it? There it is. Good.
What color top has that got on it? Picture of a nice cluttered pole here.
Don't need the pole or anything, do you?
No. And nobody behind me now either.
After the piling had been driven and cut off to grade for the foundation, heavy wood timbers called shear caps were placed on top of the piling. Of special interest was the use of the tide for placing the 60-foot, 12-inch by 19-inch timbers. They were hauled from the framing yard to the water and dumped into the bay. They were then floated into approximate position at high tide, and as the tide receded, they were lowered into exact position and secured. Since it was impossible to drive the piling in precise alignment, the city inspectors and surveyors had to take the measurements between the piles each day. These measurements were then transferred to the timber shear caps in the framing yard so that each cutout would match its own individual pile. This is the framing yard where all the work was done by city employees hired by the day. The timbers were purchased through the city purchasing department. Precast concrete wall slabs were cast by the General Construction Company of Seattle. The site for the casting yard was located on the west side of the Duwamish Waterway, where there was ample space for storage. In the precast slabs for the seawall, one of the principal requirements was to obtain concrete that would be highly resistant to salt water, particularly on the face exposed to constant tidal action. Their design was such that the effective location of the steel reinforcing bars would be near the rear of the wall slab, giving maximum cover between steel and seawater. The sheet piling and reinforcing steel was manufactured in the Bethlehem Steel Companies in West Seattle. These remarkable shots taken during that time show the process by which the hot steel was formed into 1 1/4 inch square steel reinforcing bars. Quality control of the concrete was maintained by the City Engineering Department Testing Laboratory. Specifications required that the concrete show a 3,000 pound per square inch resistance under compression. This requirement was always exceeded. Engineering Department inspectors examined each slab to ensure that there were no defects in the finished section. The faces of the slabs had an almost glossy smoothness. Each slab was numbered in numerical order, cataloged, and placed in proper sequence. And they were loaded in the same order to ensure a perfect fit in the seawall. Heavy-duty cranes were brought in to load the wall slabs in the casting yard and to set them in place on the project. The wall slabs were 18 inches thick, 8 feet wide, and 20 feet long. They weighed approximately 23 tons. Because much of this work was done at or below extreme low water level, only a few tides each month were suitable for efficient work. It was decided to utilize a diver and work all tides. This was found to be very costly and inefficient. It was then concluded that the most effective procedure was to get everything in readiness and put on a very large crew whenever a low tide existed. The men worked sometimes in the water, but it was found that the job could be done faster and better at about 1/5 the cost. Here one can see the wall slabs in place and the method by which they were secured. Notice that the concrete shear beams extending from the base of the wall are keyed. Concrete was placed between them to form a solid unit. 1-inch steel rods were used as tiebacks to keep the wall in exact position. The Crosby Sand and Gravel Company ready-mixed concrete job. This company later became Pioneer Sand and Gravel Company. Their contract was for furnishing concrete to the job site only. Placing it was performed by city employees hired by the day. A major feature of the operation was the method of compacting the concrete. This was done by using vibrators progressively in the pour. Vibrators were used to minimize the existence of air bubbles in the cement and dense placement. The program of keeping vehicular, rail, pedestrian traffic operating at all times, both on the street and docks, was a major problem, but all business and traffic were given the right-of-way in the construction area. The source of aggregate backfill for the project was the mouth of the Cedar River, located at the south end of Lake Washington near Renton. Barges were loaded by clam derricks and towed north through Lake Washington and the government locks around to the job site. At the job site, the backfill was loaded into loading hoppers and hauled by truck to the embankment area. The aggregate backfill was a coarse material, and although it did not require compaction, it was sluiced into the fill to maximum capacity. A sidewalk was constructed along the entire length of the project. The hand railings for the sidewalk were cast in the framing yard. They were hauled by truck to the job site and placed by hand by city employees. Special templates were used to space the pickets. The templates were split, held together by bolts so that they could be easily removed. The name Railroad Avenue was changed by city ordinance to Alaskan Way in July 1936. And so ends this chapter in the City Engineering Department's continuing role in the history of Seattle.
Okay.
And then there's this reservoir at Volunteer Park. It looks like a pretty good place for a lid. But you're right, I didn't...
And... okay.
And then there's this reservoir at Volunteer Park. It looks like a pretty good place for a lid.
Okay. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
And... okay.
And then there's this reservoir at Volunteer Park. It looks like a pretty good place for a lid.
Remember, don't talk to the reservoir, just turn to it.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
And here we go, go.
And then there's this reservoir at Volunteer Park. It looks like a pretty good place for a lid.
Okay, one more. I didn't get to you soon enough.
And then there's this reservoir.
Wait for my cue.
Okay.
Okay.
And then there's this reservoir at Volunteer Park. It looks like a pretty good place for a lid. What's so funny?
It just sounds like...
The current plan, it sounds like, they're looking at decommissioning, certainly. Would be great. Okay, so let's start. You want to start rolling? I'm rolling. What's important about this reservoir here?
Well, like I told you on the phone the other day, I think it's the orientation, the visual orientation between the Seattle Asian Art Museum and the fact that it was part of the original plan that the Olmsteds laid out.
I mean, the Olmsteds knew this reservoir existed.
Yes. Yeah, it was just in the final stages of the design of the reservoir, and they had not designed the location for the water tower that's associated with it. The Olmsteds helped them locate the water tower.
They wanted this reservoir.
The reservoir was going to go here anyway. The Olmsteds worked around it and designed their plan to accommodate it from the very beginning.
What's the problem with lidding it?
Well, one of the problems is the water feature goes away. The water feature has been a feature of the design from the very beginning. And certainly you could lid it and turn it into grass, and that would be totally different than the look that we have today. So,
would that...
Yeah, I think as far as our group is concerned, the Friends of Seattle's Olmsted Parks group, the fact that it's been water all this time is important, that it should stay water somehow or other.
How is that different from the water element of other reservoirs in Seattle?
As I mentioned to you also the other day on the phone, Cal Anderson Park, which is south of here about 8 or 10 blocks, it has a water reservoir that was part of plans that were in place and under construction before the Olmsteds came here also, but in fact it's not the visual orientation element that this one is.
You just couldn't see it really from...
Oh, you can see it. It's just that it's a very large rectangular round-cornered reservoir, and they have in fact buried it recently, and it's gone away visually. There is a water feature there, but this is such a large element in the design of this park from the beginning. So.
And that's what makes it different from the other...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are any of the other reservoirs in Seattle, Myrtle, West Seattle, Roosevelt, Maple Leaf, probably forgetting one or another, Beacon Hill, are any of them on your radar screen with Friends of Olmsted Parks like this one is?
Well, Jefferson Park up on Beacon Hill is because there's two reservoirs up there. One of them's empty now, and that one is the one I understand is going to be reconditioned and lidded, and the one that's now full of water is going to be decommissioned and buried, thereby gaining a lot of park land, grass and multiple use kind of parkland space down there. And we've been dealing with that one and being on the stakeholders committee that's been watching that for 5 years or more. Yeah.
Is your preference that this reservoir gets decommissioned?
Well, that's an SPU issue as far as we're concerned. The fact that it's a water feature and a major visual water feature in this park is important to us.
What would be your preference?
I'd like it to stay like it looks today, but in fact be accessible. I mean, to remove this fence that was put up sometime in the probably 20s for security reasons. I'd like to have the people be able to get to the water, actually.
It sounds like it would probably have to be decommissioned for that kind of access to be granted.
Right. It's too deep and too dangerous, I guess, as far as SPU is concerned with the water that's in it now.
What about the idea of lidding it and having this kind of pond, if you will, on top?
Yeah, that'd be perfectly okay. And then it would save the visual aspect of the water. Because it reflects the view, for one thing. I mean, if you look towards it, it's the Olympic Mountains and the Space Needle and a lot of other things that are part of its visual aspect.
Would it be recreated as well? I mean, would you lose something if you lidded it and tried? I mean, inevitably it would be a little bit different.
Well, engineering-wise, I don't know if that's true or not. It could look just the same, but only be 1.5 feet deep or a foot deep.
What about your plans here?
Well, I brought these plans to show you because this is one portion of the landscape plans. It's a planting plan done for Volunteer Park.
Until the rain stopped, and then we had to start over from scratch on that again. So
That sentence again. You can just look at them and
Okay.
start it again. I wasn't rolling when you said that.
Sure, sure. The other unique thing about this project, it was one of the very first projects where Seattle Public Utilities and Seattle Parks Department came together and did a joint agreement, because we've got the water, which is under the jurisdiction of the utility, and then we have the park property, of course, under the jurisdiction of the Seattle Parks Department. And there were a lot of different maintenance agreements to be worked out, who's going to do what and when. And it took a while to work that all out and run it through the legal department. So we were always hoping that this would sort of be kind of a pilot that would start that same kind of partnership for Northgate and the daylighting of the creek at Northgate in the South Lot. So. And let's see, what else can I tell you about this? The volunteers put all the plants in, and the first thing, one of the interesting things that first happened when we got all the native plants in and we mulched everything, the first year we were afraid we were going to have all kinds of weeds, and instead of having weeds, we had an explosion of alder. All these little alder saplings started popping up everywhere. So our first work party was just to pull out all the alder trees, which sort of surprised us. We weren't prepared for that. And it was kind of hard to pull out all those little trees. We were trying to give them away. But let's see, this project, I think these plants now are 2 years old. And they have really, you can see they've really grown significantly. They were all just about a foot high when we put them in. And I think what I'd like to do, I don't know, there's some really nice plants in here. The red flowering currant, you can see that right here. That gets kind of the reddish pink flowers and smells real pretty, and then it gets a little berry on it, which is edible for birds. Then you can see right next to it is a Nootka rose. It's a wild rose. And what I love about those is they get those really pretty red rose hips with all the seeds inside of them. And you can see all the alders popping up. We've got we've got twinberry in here, which gets the little tiny white flowers that look like a little twin bell. And then when the flowers go away, then it gets two little berries to replace the little flowers. They're really cute. Another first thing to bloom, and it sends out a branch, a new branch like this, and it'll have little white flowers that all kind of cascade flowering things. And then we've got a lot of wetland plants too. So I think what I might do is try and navigate you through the native plants, and maybe we can actually go see the water. Because the other really cool thing that we did in here was we used some of the big trees that were on site had to come out because Parks Department was afraid that they would present a falling branch hazard. And so instead of just hauling them all away, we used some of the logs after they were cut for around the edges of the park here. You can see them stacked up here. And then we actually used the tree trunks to provide sort of cover for the creek in here. Just in case some trout ever make it up, they'll have a little place to hide in here. And plus they look really cool.
Will the fence ever come
down here on carpentry and actually have teens learn how to build a split rail fence, and then just want some kind of split rail fence or something that just sort of indicates a little bit of a barrier or a designation that, you know, you've come off the play meadow area and into the habitat area. So and walk and see the creek, and then maybe when you come back out you can read the posters and stuff and find out more about the plants. Working hard to keep everything weeded and watered. Now is this too steep? Because we can go in over here. Bark, it's so beautiful in the winter. Yeah. And let's see, what's the best way to do this? Normal. This is the red flowering currant, and that's a bit of ocean spray up there that's popping through. So, and the other thing to remember is It's native plants isn't so much about providing berries for the birds. It's about providing and attracting the insects that the birds like to eat. Because Northwest birds, believe it or not, actually eat more insects than they do berries and seeds.
Oh yeah.
They have a really rich protein diet. So.
And go ahead.
Okay, so here's the creek. It's kind of low right now because it's summer, but it is a lot of spring-fed water. And when it gets high is when it gets all the stormwater runoff coming into it. You can see this. This is a, I think we call this juncus. And then here's one of the trunks I was telling you about. Yeah, that we just kept in here. It looks like it was always been here.
Yeah,
but
I should say, it looks like you didn't put it there. It's been there for a while.
Forever, yeah. The other one is over there. It's kind of hiding behind some alder over there. Can you see it through there? We planted the cedar in there. Grate on it because sometimes trash gets washed in the high flows and it would plug it up if we didn't have that grate on there. And Michelle and I periodically come down and clean stuff out.
Once it goes into the vault, where does it go?
It goes into a pipe and it runs down between these two apartment buildings. And then eventually it ends up over by Jack in the Box underneath their parking lot. And we actually got the grant, but we just kept running into all kinds of obstacles. And it just took us forever to work through those. Some were legal. I don't know if you were there. I was talking about that joint agreement, maintenance agreement between, we had to do a joint maintenance agreement between Seattle Public. Okay, so my phone number is 367-4635. That's my home phone. And my email is cakaea@comcast.net.
Great. And it's Lowell Deo is a reporter. He might be getting in touch with you too.
Okay.
Are you going to this event on Saturday by any chance? This big
Lake City Summer Festival?
Lake City Summer Festival thing?
Well, yeah, that's my other project I've been working on and kind of got roped into, was getting that public art installed.
Oh, well, we're going to be there Saturday for the dedication. And maybe
Oh,
you can
wonderful.
talk. Maybe you can talk to him then.
Okay.
And
Just play the cake.
Where you are? Are you outside?
Smash it in your face for the camera.
Get it up.
It's on him.
Yeah, you didn't even cut it right either. But look at the carrot cake people, eh? You guys just stuck a fork in there and dug, right? No, I was trying to get food. I tell you, I can't wait till we start that culinary art class. Definitely need an instructor. Teach you guys how to cut a cake. Make a cake. We might have to have an edit.